We like to think that we have the power to be in full control over our own personal choices, our personal paths, our personal trajectory. We like to think that if we set our mind to what we want our next step to be and where we want to be heading, that we can insulate ourselves from any sort of outside influence and keep ourselves focused in the direction of the things that we seek without much interference. But just like in outer space, where you have an object pursuing a trajectory, if it does come across another object that has sufficient gravitational pull against it, the trajectory of the smaller object will forever be changed, will forever be influenced by that gravitational pull. And similarly, if you have come across somebody in your life who's had a massive, magnificent, for better or for worse, impact on you, then in a way, your own path, your own trajectory will forever be influenced by that. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to get to the places you want to get to. It doesn't mean you won't be able to achieve your goals. It doesn't mean you won't be able to be happy. You can still have great things. But the feelings you thought you would feel along the way, the smoothness of the ride, the types of obstacles that you might face, all those things might not be what you initially expected. There is a new landscape, and while you can still achieve the things you want, the path is a little bit different from what you initially envisaged. And you can either resist it or accept it. And a lot of people think when they're dealing with difficult people in their lives, when they're dealing with narcissistic people, for example, who tend to have a lot of an impact on them, an impact on their paths, and a lot of times a negative impact. Sometimes you come down to this question, which is, should I accept this or should I resist this? And that's not a very easy answer. But the short answer is you should resist the narcissistic person, but you shouldn't resist the impact. You do need to accept it. It's like if you have flowing water. If it hits an obstacle, if you keep trying to push against the obstacle, you won't go anywhere. But if you let it flow, it'll find a way around it, and it'll keep flowing. And that's the mindset you have to have when dealing with toxic people. They will change your trajectory. They will put you into a different landscape, different experience. But you can still achieve the things you want. And you might actually achieve other things along the way. You might have other experiences along the way. You'll be seeing things from a new vantage point. And that's how you have to face these things. And that's how you have to face these people. Because the direction that you were heading, the way you were feeling heading in that direction will never again be the same. When you're dealing with toxic people, acceptance can go a long way. And a lot of times you find yourself with these people for a very long time before you realize who and what you're dealing with, before you realize you've had enough, before you realize it's time you go your own way. And a lot of times it's not you that makes that decision. A lot of times when you've come to realize what you're dealing with, your own behavior towards that person change, your own way of operating around that person changes. And all of a sudden they don't really see you as somebody that they can use in the way they once did. Or a lot of times these people might just feel that they can do better elsewhere. They can do better with a new supply. And of course, when you're dealing with somebody who has that kind of personality, who has that disordered way of thinking and carrying themselves, For them, everything's about control. Yes, they do like controlling your paths. Yes, they do like controlling your actions. Yes, they do like controlling what you do, where you're heading. And they like to be the beneficiary of all that. For them, control is the only way that by controlling you, that's the only way they can soothe themselves. And a lot of people wonder, okay, so I've been with this toxic person a long time. I haven't really been living up to their expectations of me for a while. Maybe they did put me down a little bit. Maybe I just realized who I was dealing with and wasn't very cooperative. But maybe either way, you weren't supplying them in the way you used to. And then they might discard you. They might leave you. And they might make you believe they don't care and never did care. And then you find yourself in that same situation again. Should you resist it? Should you accept it? Of course, you shouldn't resist a decision made by another. And of course, you should accept it. Like I said, the water flowing. You might find yourself facing certain hurdles, certain obstacles as you pull yourself together. But water always does find a new path in going downstream. And then, as destiny has it, how do these people react? How do they react when you accept what they've done to you? It doesn't matter how brutal, how indifferent a discard by the narcissist or any toxic person can be. When they are making the decision to discard you, they feel fully empowered. They feel like they are in a position of power over you, and they feel great. And then you, being on the receiving end, might think, well, they'll never want anything to do with you again, right? But when you accept it, when you go with the flow, all of a sudden, they can accept that you accepted it, because even though they might have been feeling empowered for a few days, very soon they realize they have no more power because they've given you up. They won't have the opportunity to have power over you again. And that's where you see these people kind of reeling, backtracking, trying to come back into your life, talking about the revelations they've had, how they're changed, they're better, they're going to treat you better, how they're sorry, how they're going to make up for any harm they've caused you, because they've lost their power. Your acceptance, when you go with the flow, when you go with the flow without resistance, it doesn't matter what comes your way. It doesn't matter what obstacle comes your way. You're always winning. You're always flowing. You're always becoming more. And then the person who put you into that position, it's almost like they come back a few days, a few weeks later, and they want to regain control. But you didn't stand still those days and weeks, just like water flows. You're hundreds of miles away. And then they find themselves thinking, what the hell? How did this person get away so easily? It doesn't matter how difficult of a position you're in, how difficult of a place you find yourself feeling. When you don't resist the things that are outside your control, you go with the flow, you find that path of least resistance that does take you to more and more and more, then no one can hold any strings on you. No one can hold any strings on you. No one can do any of that. And then anything they did to try to hurt you backfires. But hopefully, you don't even care enough to want to look back to see it. You just keep on going. Thanks for watching. Oh, yes, one more thing. Don't forget to connect on Instagram. I'm starting to post more. And of course, if you ever have any questions, you can feel free to drop me a line there as well. Thanks for watching.